Labor trafficking in agriculture. It could be happening on a farm without the owners even knowing it. Mariana Rodriguez is the director of UMO's Latina Resource Center. She has advice on what farms should be looking for when hiring contract labor to avoid legal implications. She starts off by explaining what labor trafficking looks like.
It can happen without you knowing it. One is that often victims are very much isolated. When we're talking about trafficking, we're talking about the recruitment, the harboring, the transporting of workers and using force, fraud, or coercion for labor services. Those are some of the things that we need to really understand of what the experiences of the workers are. Like, how were you recruited into this farm? How did you get this job? How did you know about this job? What were you promised if you came to this job, into this farm? And it always starts out with those questions, and then it will lead to, well, this is how I was promised I was going to do this. I was promised I was going to get paid that. I was promised housing. And so as they start talking, then we start to hear more about what is happening directly to the worker when they start to express their complaints. The threats of, if you keep complaining, I'm going to send you back and you will never work in the United States again. I'm going to make sure that you never get another visa to come into the United States to work. Or they owe a significant amount of money that it's impossible for them just to get up and leave without not trying to earn that money back and pay out the debts that they may have just to come to work here. So it plays out very differently, but what is very, very clear is that the workers are very much afraid of the trafficker and what might happen to them or what might happen to their family. And so those are the things that we have to listen, and we have to figure out what the safety issues are going to be for them and how do we get the resources to protect them.
What are some of the red flags to notice that there may be a problem?
Well, one is the worker getting the wages that have been earned? Are they being paid when they're supposed to be paid and what they're supposed to be getting paid? Are they highly isolated? Are they not allowed to interact with the community? Can they make those accessible for the workers? The housing. Is the housing appropriate? We've seen pictures, the houses are falling apart. There's holes, there's no heat, and there's people working in there. That's an employer responsibility. That's a great red flag. Why would we want to treat workers this way? They are the biggest resource in making their business extremely, lucrative. Does the worker know where they're at? Do they have access to their passport, to their IDs? Are they able to interact with other workers? So it's all about, being able to be accessible to those workers, and can those workers be accessible to the employers? So those are some things that I always feel like those are big red flags.
And you made a good point. The employer may not know what exactly is going on if they're working with a contractor or a third party to recruit employees. And that can be where a lot of problems are originating.
Absolutely. And so, and that is, workers have said the owners are really, they're very nice, but we don't get to talk to them. When we're looking at some of the farms that are working with an agency and the recruiter, they really should do a lot more background information as to who they are. Who is that recruiter specifically? What do you know about that person? What are the workers saying? And so the employer does need to invest some time in interacting with workers. They understand the business. They understand the complexities of how often you have to take care, how you have to take care of the cows, what goes into. They're very passionate about that, and that's what brings them here, because that's what they are very passionate about. That's what they love to do. And so, so if you have these workers who are giving so much to the animals and really taking good care of them, the employer is benefiting. They have an amazing industry. They have an amazing farm. If there is a great deal of care for these animals, then the same needs to be done for those workers, if not more.
And another reason for a farm employer to be aware is they will face legal repercussions if they are involved in trafficking or exploitation, even if they're maybe unaware of some of the things that are going on.
It's at the end of the day, it's their business. It's their, it's their location. And they are very much responsible for everything that happens in those farms, and so if they can take some time to really ask the question, how safe are my workers? How safe am I, what am I doing as an employer to make sure that the workers have what they need so that we can lower the probabilities of them being injured? Do they understand? So that's the kind of investment of resources that I said that needs to happen. Can they make the signs in Spanish? Can they make sure that they really understand what those workers need to continue to be great workers for them?
Mariana Rodriguez is the director of UMOS Latina Resource Center, asking agriculture to be alert and be aware of labor trafficking in Wisconsin. For the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Stephanie Hoff.